Hello friends, let us now learn some important points about the waste disposal. First, types of waste disposal. Waste disposal can be divided into four different types. One, we have refuse, second sewage, then sullage, then litter. Refuse is the solid waste which is generated. This refuse can be street refuse, market refuse, it includes table refuse, industrial refuse, constructional refuse, and it includes hospital refuse, and finally domestic refuse. Domestic refuse, that is that waste which is produced in the kitchen and everything. This includes ash, that is residue from fire used for cooking and heating. Then rubbish also includes refuse, that is paper, clothing, wood, metals, glass, and all the dust will include domestic refuse. And the garbage, which is processed food waste generated from kitchen, is garbage. All these are solid waste generated, which includes refuse. Then we have sewage. Sewage is liquid waste along with excreta is sewage. Proper disposal of sewage is very important. Then sullage. Sullage includes mainly the liquid waste without excreta is sullage. This sewage is a part of fecal-oral transmission. Then we have litter. Litter is the waste which is disposed in wrong place by unlawful human action. It is the waste which is disposed in wrong place by unlawful human action is litter. Then, what are the methods of refuse disposal? There are different methods of refuse disposal, which includes one, sanitary methods, second, insanitary methods. First we will learn about insanitary methods. Here one is hog feeding, that is feeding the refuse to pigs. This is an insanitary method of refuse disposal. Here this will lead to soil pollution and water pollution also. Then there is stacking. Stacking is piling up of refuse and cow dung is called as stacking. Then we have salvaging. Salvaging includes screening refuse dumps to recover the objects that can be reclaimed and reused. Screening refuse dumps is salvaging. So to see which the objects which can be reused. Then dumping. Dumping is throwing the refuse openly in an insanitary manner in peri-urban areas. Around the cities, if we just throw the refuse without any sanitary disposal, then that is insanitary method. We do not use this insanitary method now. Then we started using sanitary methods of refuse disposal, which is one, composting. Composting is integrated method of disposing both refuse and night soil. So this has two methods, one Bangalore method or anaerobic hot fermentation process. So in this Bangalore or anaerobic hot fermentation process, we will put alternate layers of refuse and night soil in proportion of 3:1. Here the refuse layer both are put in the lowermost and topmost layer you put refuse, and in the middle you can put layers of refuse and night soil. Then the second method is indoor method or aerobic process. Then second, we have sanitary landfill or controlled tipping method. In sanitary landfill or controlled tipping method, here the layers of dry and condensed refuse are put in layers. You will put dry refuse one layer and then condensed refuse the other layer. In between the two layers of refuse, you put soil or earth partitions. There are soil or earth partitions. Between that, you put layers of dry and condensed layers. So this is by mechanical compression. Outside, after you put that, you will try to compress it mechanically from outside. So this sanitary landfill is the most satisfactory method, and it involves three types. One, we have trench method, ramp method, and area method. Then third, which is incineration. Incineration is high temperature dry oxidation process. Incineration includes high temperature dry oxidation process. This will decrease the waste volume and the weight. Then we have sewage. The next important topic is about the sewage. Sewage is the waste water which is derived from the community is called sewage. The sewage contains both solid and liquid excreta, and this sewage is derived from houses, sheets, or yards washing. It is derived from factories and also industries. The main composition of sewage includes 99.9% of water and 0.1% of solids. Then, amount of sewage flowing through these sewers will depend on two important factors. The amount of sewage which is flowing will depend upon two factors. One, it depends upon habits of the people. Second, it depends upon the time of the day. Then, dry weather flow. There is a term dry weather flow which states the average, which will indicate the average amount of sewage that flows in a sewerage system in 24 hours. In 24 hours, the amount of sewage which is flowing through it is dry weather flow system. Then, strength of sewage system. Strength of sewage system mainly depends upon three parts. One, biological oxygen demand. Second, chemical oxygen demand. Third, we have it includes suspended solids. First, in biological oxygen demand, it will include the amount of oxygen which is absorbed by a sample of sewage during the specified period of time at specified temperature for aerobic destruction or use of organic matter by living organisms. This biological oxygen demand is the total oxygen absorbed by the sample by aerobic destruction. That is important. By aerobic destruction of microorganisms which will absorb the oxygen through the sample of sewage is biological oxygen demand. This biological oxygen demand is measured through dilution method and manometric method. The biological oxygen demand should be more than 300 gram per liter, then it is strong sewage. If the biological oxygen demand is less than 100 grams per liter, then it is called as weak sewage. Then the second important thing for measuring the strength of sewage system is chemical oxygen demand. Chemical oxygen demand measures oxygen equivalent of that organic matter in a sample which is susceptible oxidation by an oxidizer. It measures the oxygen equivalent of that organic matter in a sample which is susceptible by an oxidizer. That is, the oxidizer contains the chemicals which will break down the oxygen in the organic matter. So that is chemical oxygen demand. Where oxygen breakdown is done by chemicals. In biological oxygen demand, oxygen breakdown is done by bacteria or microorganisms. The chemical used in chemical oxygen demand is potassium dichromate. Then we have suspended solids. In suspended solids, around more than 500 milligram per liter of sewage, if it is there, then it is strong sewage. If the suspended solids are less than 100 milligram per liter, then we call it as weak sewage. So these are the strength of sewage system. Now let us learn some important points about the methods of sewage disposal. Methods of sewage disposal mainly includes, first we have modern sewage treatment. In modern sewage treatment, we have two important things. One, we have primary treatment, secondary treatment. Primary treatment, we will first screen the chamber, then we do grit chamber, and then we have primary sedimentation. In secondary type, we have anaerobic aerobic oxidation. It includes secondary sedimentation and also sludge digestion. This other methods include sea outfall, river outfall, land treatment. This land treatment is of two types. It includes sewage forming and broad irrigation method. This also includes oxidation ponds or waste stabilization ponds or redox ponds or sewage lagoons. These are predominantly include organic during the day and some part of night. These are predominantly organic during the day and some part of night. Bottom layers are undergo aerobic digestion. In oxidation ponds, bottom layer undergo aerobic digestion. So these are the methods of sewage disposal. Then now let us learn some important points about the method of excreta disposal in unseweraged areas. If there are no proper drainage, underground drainage system, in such cases, how are you going to dispose the excreta? So in unsewered areas, we have three different types of excreta disposal. One, we have service type latrines or conservancy system, which is of two types: pail type latrines and bucket type latrines. Then second, we have non-service type latrines or sanitary latrines, which are again divided into different types, like borehole latrine, dug wall or pit latrine, or water seal type, which is of PRAI, RCA, Sulabh Sauchalaya. Then we have septic tank and aqua privy in non-service type latrines. And then the third type is latrines which are used for camps or temporary usage. These include shallow trench latrine or deep trench latrine, or this also includes pit latrine and borehole latrine. So these are the different types of disposal of excreta in unsewered regions. Then let us learn some points about the septic tank. Septic tank is a watertight masonry tank into which household sewage is admitted for treatment. Here in this tank, the whole sewage is left there for treatment. So this septic tank is also a good satisfactory method for disposal of liquids and wastes from individual dwellings or small group of houses or institutions. Individual dwelling from small groups of houses or institutions with adequate water supply. That is septic tank. Here we need good water supply, and it is for small groups, and it is also used in those areas where there is no access to public sewage system. First, the design features. If you see the design features, the capacity of septic tank is around 500 gallons. The length of the septic tank should be twice the breadth. Depth of the septic tank should be 1.5 to 2 meters. Liquid depth is 1.2 meters. Airspace depth of septic tank is 30 centimeters. Ideal retention period of septic tank is 24 hours. Then if you see the steps of purification of in a septic tank, we have two main steps. One, in septic tank there occurs anaerobic digestion. Second, aerobic oxidation occurs. Aerobic oxidation takes place in subsoil or outside the septic tank. It takes place in subsoil or outside the septic tank, whereas anaerobic digestion takes place in septic tank proper. So these are the two steps of purification. Then what is the process of purification in a septic tank? In a septic tank, if we see, first in the whole septic tank will be filled with excreta, all the liquids. So over all those, the solids which are heavier will settle down in the tank and they are called as sludge, whereas lighter solids will raise to the surface and they form the scum. The solids which are settled down in the tank, that is sludge, will undergo anaerobic digestion with the organisms, anaerobic bacteria, and they produce methane. The liquids will pass out of the outlet pipe like effluent. This effluent will contain bacteria, cysts, helminthic larvae, and it also contains organic matter. Because this is infective to the other persons, this effluent should never be allowed to percolate in subsoil. It should not be combined in subsoil. So here because in subsoil aerobic should be allowed to percolate in subsoil where aerobic digestion occurs with the bacteria. Then operation and maintenance of septic tank. In operation and maintenance of septic tank, first we will have to avoid usage of soap water and disinfectant in the septic tank, because soap water and disinfectant will kill the bacterial flora, and the only way of processing that is happening in the septic tank is with the help of anaerobic bacteria. So anaerobic bacteria are very important in septic tank, but if we use soap water or disinfectant in septic tank, that will kill the bacterial flora, and as a result the oxidation process or anaerobic digestion process which occurs will be stopped. Next, desludging of a septic tank should be carried out once a year. Then if you see, always new tanks to be filled with water, always new tanks to be filled with water and seeded with ripe sludge from another septic tank to provide the good bacteria. So for bacterial digestion, once the tanks are filled with water, then you should add some bacteria in it for providing good anaerobic digestion. Then now let us learn some important points about swimming pool sanitation. So what are the recommended measures for swimming pool sanitation? We will learn this in the next class. Thank you for watching my lecture.